Imagine you're stranded alone on a deserted island, a haunt of pirates and enemies. How long could you endure? But it's not just about survival. How well could you maintain your sanity, and would you want to return to that island years later? Here's the true story of Alexander Selkirk, the man who inspired Robinson Crusoe, a story many of us have read, or at least heard of in films. Alexander Selkirk was born in Scotland in 1676, the seventh son of a humble shoemaker, and grew up amidst the chaos of civil wars. With a rebellious nature, when he clashed with the law, he immediately made an agreement with a ship to become a pirate. In his piracy adventures, which began at the age of 17, he attacked and plundered Spanish and French ships in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. After 10 years of active piracy, Alex had risen in rank on the ship and become a sailor. Following an unsuccessful battle, his ship was damaged and stopped at the Juan Fernandez Islands for repairs and rest. Before the ship's repairs were fully completed, the captain ordered it to set sail. Alex objected, insisting that the repairs were not yet complete and that more time was needed. Alex insisted that setting sail was very dangerous, that the ship would sink, and that he would rather stay alone on the island than leave. However, the captain insisted on the order to set sail and left the island with his ship. Alexander Selkirk was left alone on this deserted island. The island where Alex, known as Robinson Crusoe, stayed was densely forested and had timber, fresh water, goats, seals, and sea lions. There were also wild plums, herbs, and turnips planted by sailors who had previously stayed temporarily on the islands. The island had been used as a base for pirates and private expeditions throughout the 17th century, and Alex thought there was a high probability that a ship would come to rescue him within a few months. However, Alex would have to stay on this deserted island for more than 4 years before he could make contact with another human. Although it was very difficult at first, he started to get used to it after a few months. Actually, if he had been told that the ship he didn't board because he believed it would sink had actually sunk, and that he was right, I think he would have gotten used to it even more easily. Yes, Alex was right. His ship sank, and most of the crew lost their lives. After the passing seasons, months, and days, a little over 4 years had passed, and Alex had now become an islander. Apart from forgetting how to speak, he was physically not too bad. He had actually managed to get his affairs in order. He had water, food, shelter, tools, and equipment, and he was alive. Alexander Selkirk wasn't the first person to be stranded alone on this island. A few years earlier, Captain Maudling and his ship, having been forced to leave one of their men behind after a Spanish raid, had returned to the island. They spotted the distress fire Alex had lit and approached the island. Although Alex, who had almost completely forgotten how to speak, didn't inspire much confidence in Captain Maudling, he agreed to take him aboard. Alexander had escaped after 4 years spent alone on this desolate island. Captain Rogers mentioned Alexander in his book published in 1712, describing him as a man who wore goatskins, looked very wild, had forgotten how to speak, but was physically in very good condition. When Alexander regained his ability to speak, he told the captain that he had seen several ships over the years, but had not seen any of them fire signal shots. He also said that 1 or 2 ships had approached the island, but because they were Spanish ships, they opened fire when Alexander requested help from afar. Having no choice but to flee into the depths of the island, Alexander was finally rescued. After returning to England, he spent some time living on land, but the sea called him. In 1717, he returned to sea as an officer in the Royal Navy and died at sea in 1721 from yellow fever. Alex had always said in his later years that he wanted to return to his deserted island. Here is the story of Alexander Selkirk, who inspired Alexander Dumas when writing Robinson Crusoe, one of the world's most famous novels, translated into dozens of different languages and selling millions of copies.